Hi, hello and welcome to this tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to look at the consumer interface, functional interface, and we are going to discuss about these two functions, the accept and then function. Of course, I have explained about the accept in my previous videos. Today we are going to look at only on the consumer interface and how we can use this thing with the list also. Okay. So before going to just look at a simple examples related to the consumer interface. Okay, I have imported the two packages, util package and util.function package. Okay, this is for functional interfaces and this is for lists. Okay, so first look at a simple example. So integer consumer, so the t is integer here, so obj1 is equal to x. So and this is system.out.println just x. Okay. So whenever I say obj.accept obj1 dot accept of 10, so whenever I run this, so it is going to execute this piece of code which is written in a lambda expression, right? So this is what actually happens. So whenever you call the function accept on some input, okay, so then it is going to execute that particular lambda code. Okay, so the same thing if you want to apply on the strings, so you can also do that. So take it as z, the same set. So whenever I say obj2 dot accept hello world, so now whenever I run this, so it is going to give me it's going to print the same thing, right? Okay, the hello world. Okay. So this is how we use the interface, the consumer function interface with the types. Okay, so here we have we look at by using the integer, by using the string. Okay, so now look at the same thing using list. So how you are going to do this with the list? Okay, so if at all if you look at the array list, okay, if you go to the documentation of the array list, so you can see a function called ForEach function, which is an instance method, okay, so which accepts a consumer type as a parameter. Okay, so now let us see how this function is going to work when you use the list. Okay, so using consumer with list, of course the list might be array list or whatever it might be. Okay, so let us take list, or else you can go with the array list, so it's up to you. So integer, here I'm taking the array list which holds only integer types. Okay, new array list integer. So to keep the thing simpler, so I'm going to add integers. So here I'm adding 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to the array list. Of course I just written a single statement anyway. Let me write it in 9 beautiful lines. So generally what we do is make use of something called ForEach, or make use of the interface iterable or something to iterate over the elements. Okay, so it's up to you whether to use a for loop or just go with some other interfaces and all to iterate over the elements. So here if you see by making use of the iterable interface, you can iterate over the array elements, array list elements, sorry. Okay, so first you are going to get this iterator, right? So by making use of that iterator, we are going to browse the elements of the array list. So that's what we do earlier. So here we are going to make use of so-called ForEach function, okay, which is present in the array list. So consumer, again take integer, make it as list consumer, okay, is equal to. So whenever you say a list consume, So now I'm going to apply this consumer on the list. So I'm taking the same thing here. So system.out.println x, same statement. So now what I'm going to do is, just make use of the function ForEach, okay, and here I'm going to specify this elastic consumer, okay. So now let us see what actually happens. See, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so this is what actually happens. The ForEach function accepts a consumer type as a input parameter, and it is going to produce all the elements that are present in the list. Okay, so this is how you can use the consumers with the list. So if you are if you think you are smart enough, you can also write like this: for each, just directly write the lambda statement what you are going to write. Just write it here. So system.out.println x. So instead of writing a separate statement for the consumer and the next writing here like this, I have just written in a single statement. Okay, so it's up to you whether you break down it into two statements or if you go with the single statement. So both ways it works. Okay, so now let us see. Again, I got the same output, right? So this is the output which I got for the statement at line number 23, and this is the output which I got for the statement at line number 24. So both ways it's okay. So it's up to you whether to choose that way or this way. Okay, so this is how we can use with the list. So next let us now let us work on something called as andThen function, okay, which is present in the consumer interface, function interface. So we already know what is the use of the accept, right? Okay, so using andThen. Okay, so anyway, I'm just commenting out the statement at line number 24 just for the sake of I'm going to get the long output, right? So that's why I just commented down. Okay, so consumer integer cns1 is equal to x system.out.println. So I'm going to print only x. Okay, and the next I'm going to take another one, cs2, and I'm going to print x plus 1. Okay, so take another consumer thing, make it as res, or else make it as cns3 is equal to what I'm going to write is cns1 dot and then cns2. So first before going to understand about this andThen function, so let us see what andThen function is going to accept. So see, the important thing is it is going to return you a consumer. Okay, and the next if you see the function definition here, so it is going to accept a consumer type as a input element. Okay, so according to the syntax it is right. So cns dot and then cns2. So this is also consumer interface thing, and this is also consumer. So both are the consumers. Okay, so according to the definition what I have written is correct. But now what is happening? It is saying that it is going to return me a consumer, right? So this is what it is going to return. So that's why I have written consumer integer cns3. So syntax wise this statement is perfect. So now let us see what actually is going with this andThen function. So if you click on this, observe the documentation part. So it is going to return a composed consumer that performs this is an important thing, in sequence. Remove this thing, in sequence, this operation followed by after operation. This operation means obviously in object oriented programming, you know the importance of this. This means the object which has invoked the so-called function. Okay, so that means it is going to perform in a sequence. That means this operation followed by after operation. So that means what it is going to do is, first it is going to execute the so-called lambda which is present in the CNS1, and the next it is going to execute CNS2. So that is what it is meant. It is going to give you a consumer, a composed consumer, okay, which works on the CNS1 first, and then it is going to work on CNS2. So now my consumer is ready, right? CNS3. So if at all, if I want to see the output, just accept, give the integer called 20. So here t is integer, right? So just add a statement here using andThen function. Okay, so now let us see the output. So see, first it is going to give me 20, and the next is going to give me 21. That means first CNS1, so this lambda code is executed, and the next CNS2, this lambda code is executed. So what I passed as a parameter is that so-called x is the 20 here, which is an integer. See, this is a consumer which is of type integer, which accepts, integer, the t type is integer. So this is how we are going to work with the andThen function in consumer interface. Okay. So now let us look at a little bit complex example using andThen with array list. So suppose now let us work on the array list. Okay. So already we are having the array list, right? AR, which contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have already added the elements. Okay. So consumer integer, let us name it as CNS4 is equal to, I'm going to take x. So here I'm going to write a bunch of statements. That's why I'm going to make use of the curly braces. Okay. So if your lambda expression is only have a single statement, just write the statement itself. But if you're having a multiple statements, then definitely you need to use the curly braces. Okay. So and don't forget to put a semicolon at the end. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the list of the elements. So sorry, I need to change this. Here we are working on the list, right? So this is the consumer which accepts an array list which holds only integer elements. Okay. So here we have seen the consumers which holds integers, but here I am working on a consumer which holds only the array list. Which is the T stands for array list. Okay. So here the x represents an integer, but now here the x represents it's an array list which holds only integers. So that's what the meaning here. So what I'm going to do is, for int I equal to 0, I less than x dot size I plus plus. So I'm going to do a small thing here. So what actually is x dot set. Okay. So I'm going to change the element at a particular index, right? Okay. So so I'm going to make it as x dot set. So we do one thing. So before going to set, make use of a constant. Take a variable. So int ele is equal to x dot get I. Okay. So that means we are going to get that particular value present at that particular index. So now I am going to use the x dot set. So at I am going to make it as ele plus 1. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to act on that particular list and I'm going to increment each and every list by 1. So that's what I'm going to do right here using this consumer. So this is what CNS4, right? So now if you again take another consumer, or else first let me show you how this is going to work. Okay, so for the sake I am going to do cns4 dot accept. So just give a list. The name of the list here is AR, right? So AR. So in order to see that everything is going on perfectly or not, let me just AR dot to string. Wait a second. Add me another using and then with list. Okay. So see now what actually happened is here clearly you can see this is the consumer I have written. The name is CNS4. So it is going to act on that particular array list and it is going to increment each and every element by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 became 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay. So now so this is how it is going to work. Okay. So now I am going to take another consumer, the same consumer. Just I'm going to take it as CNS5. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to increment the element by 2. Okay, so CNS is 4 is going to increment the element by 1 and here CNS5 is going to increment that same element by 2. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is consumer array list integer CNS6 is equal to CNS4 dot and then CNS5. Okay. So now I got the consumer, right? So and then is going to return you a consumer, right? So this is what it is going to return, consumer of type T. Here type T means it's an array list which holds integer elements. Okay. So now I got the consumer returns a composed consumer. That means now it is going to apply the operations in sequence, right? First it is going to work on the CNS4 and the next is going to work on CNS5. Okay. So and then. Okay. So CNS6 dot accept give the array list AR. Okay. So for the simplicity case, let me comment out these things. Okay, that means I want to make sure my array list is holding the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, if you run this, okay, there is no need of comment because I haven't written accept, right? So everything is fine. Okay, so up to this point, if you see the AR holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here I am going to call the function accept on CNS6, right? So now let us see what really actually happens. Okay, let me print out the AR dot to string. See 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So what really actually happened is, so CNS4 dot and then CNS5. As you see here, CNS4 is incrementing the element by 1. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will become. So this is what actually is going to happen, right? Initially the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Let me change the font. So initially this is the state of the array list, right? So whenever you apply cns4 dot and then cns file, so what cns4 is doing is it is going to increment each and every element by 1. So 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, 4 becomes 5, 5 becomes 6. Now what again we are going to do is cns5. If you observe the cns5, it is going to increment each and every element by 2. That means 2 becomes 4, 3 becomes 5, 4 becomes 6, 5 becomes 7, 6 becomes 8, right? So this is dot and then. So this is what actually happens. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So suppose let us say if you call the accept here, then obviously the elements may change. Okay, what I mean to say is, so this is how overall how the and then is going to work. So suppose let me tell you, if I apply cns4 dot accept here ar, so obviously it is going to increment the elements by 1, right? And when I say cns5 dot accept ar, it is going to increment the elements by 2. So just dot. So now see the difference. See 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 means, so what actually really here it is happening is, so whenever you call accept, that means you are going to make this lambda function work on that particular array list. Okay, so here if you see, the state of the elements will become 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, 4 becomes 5. And the next, whenever you apply the accept on this consumer, okay, cns5, this lambda expression is going to work. That means 2 becomes 4, 3 becomes 5, 4, so on, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is how you are going to get, right? Okay, so that means this is the state of the array list now before going to apply cns6 dot accept. Okay, so clearly you can see here we are incrementing by 1, here we are incrementing by 2. So overall we are incrementing by 3, right? So that means 1 becomes 4, 2 becomes 5, 3 becomes 6, 4 becomes 7, 5 becomes 8. So here also same thing happens. Each and every element add 3, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Suppose if you didn't apply accept, okay, so now you will get, so initial state of the array list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the next it becomes 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, so now I think you got a brief idea about how that and then are going to work. Okay, so whenever you're going to make use of and then, don't write the statements before itself, cns4.accept and cns5.accept. Okay, don't. So on the resultant, what you get, the resultant composed consumer, on that you need to call the accept. Okay, if you make use of the accept on cns4 and cns5, so obviously there will be change in the result. Okay, as you seen before. So this is how the and then works in a consumer. Definitely this is a very useful thing while working on the RLS. Okay, so hope you enjoy the tutorial. Thank you.